All right. This is Lonnie Sweet, the CEO of Sweet Management Group, and this is the last episode of 2022 of the Never Sell Ice to Eskimo podcast. Like always, I've got a really good friend of mine who I've known for a long time named Reesa Lake. Reesa is a fucking stud, like most people that come on this podcast. She's got a really interesting background. Reesa and I kind of worked at the same company a long time ago. We didn't cross paths, I don't believe. And then she went on to work at NBC, and then she went on to, more importantly, and like the kind of biggest thing over the last however many 15 years or so, she went to a company called Digital Brand Architects, where she was one of the first talent managers, and then one of the founders and one of the partners at the agency. I remember kind of hearing that Reesa had gone there, and at the time it was like, oh, what the hell is that, right? Like, I didn't understand what influencer was, but DBA became one of the most successful agencies for influencers in the world. They got acquired by WME, right?
UTA.
UTA. They got acquired by UTA. She has since left DBA and is now the head of creator expansion and agency partnerships at an amazing company called LTK. Reesa Lake, thanks for coming on.
Oh my gosh, I think back to meeting you the first time, and I remember told you, and I wasn't a founder of DBA. I'm not going to claim that, but I was the first manager. But I remember telling you that I was going to this company that was going to manage influencers, and I think you may have laughed at me and
I
said,
probably 100% did.
And so you're going to do what? And we've had so many conversations over the past decade, just checking in, and it went from what are you doing to it turned into now, even kind of before we started the podcast, you're like, wait, how do we double down? How do we build out this more?
Yeah.
So it's
you
nice.
were much smarter than I am at that point, Reese. You had a vision, and I was stuck in my old ways. And which, by the way, I think is an amazing lesson for everything that's going on in our world today, whether that's Web3 or this NFT space or doubling down on the influencer world. Like, to be able to have a mindset like you did, that's forward thinking and being able to see what's next. And I think LTK is doing some of that as well. It's brilliant. And yeah, man, I was a fucking idiot back then. I should have started representing influencers like you guys did and doubled into the space, but I was, an arrogant sports guy at the time, and so I couldn't get out of my own way.
Well, I remember when I first started at DBA, again, this was pre-Instagram. This was, oh my goodness, 11, 12 years ago. And the original founders like, we're gonna start this management company. We're gonna manage bloggers. And at the time, I was thinking, I'm gonna do what? Is this gonna be a thing? Is there any money to be made here? Will I be successful? Because like at the end of the day, like for me, my biggest goal is, I want to do a good deal. I want to connect people, and I want to really be successful, and I want to perform. And the first week at DBA, I remember just getting emails, and we were representing bloggers. We probably had 50 people, 50, 75 people on our roster that literally signed on a kitchen table.
Right.
And they all had blogs, and I don't know, maybe they had 30,000 followers to 75,000 followers. And I remember getting an email from a brand. It's like, we'd love to partner with you and we'll pay you $1,000. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is a thing. And then I stayed up to 2:00 in the morning, making a list on LinkedIn of every single person at every single brand of how I was going to go and tell them how they should work with a blogger.
Yeah, tell me what that was like. So that's what we were talking before we got on the podcast. Where obviously this podcast is about sales and sales strategy. What I was just thinking about before we got on was you were doing it before people understood what that meant, right? So what was that process like? Besides staying up, for a long time and stripping through the people that you knew, how was that conversation trying to educate people on what an influencer was? Because obviously I wasn't smart enough to figure it out. I'm guessing a lot of other people kind of were hesitant at the time. What was that process like?
I think it's a similar process of kind of, I guess what my strategy has been throughout my career is really find what's the value proposition. What is going to have somebody answer an email, pick up the phone, not kick you out of the office. And quite often your motives and your strategy for what you want is not their value proposition. And you have to really think through what is going to what's going to get them to understand and what's going to turn a maybe into a yes. So it may not be that they understand who your talent is or who your influencer is, but they understand that they need to hire a photographer for a shoot, or they understand that they need a chef to come curate a menu at a dinner. They don't care that that person that's curating the menu, they don't care that they're an influencer. I as their manager, care that there's an influencer or a talent, because
Right.
I'm going to tack on an additional fee to their payment. But I really tried to lead with what was the value proposition for the other party, and that has changed tremendously over the years. And in the early days, there was no data. We didn't have analytics. We didn't have any sales conversion data. So we really had to lead with, one, what was the actual talent of the influencer? Why would somebody pay them as their talent, not because they're an influencer? And then we were able to, with the evolution of our industry and companies like LTK, formerly known as Reward Style, which was founded by an influencer who built out the first way for creators to actually track and monetize the content that they were posting on behalf of brands. So now we have all of this data at our fingertips, and brands are leaning into performance marketing, when back in the day, we didn't have any type of information that we could provide to a brand that would land on a CEO or a CMO's desk, other than this creator, creates beautiful content.
Right.
But my goal was to say, how can this fit within, what's the value proposition to you as a brand?
By the way, are we allowed to say influencer, or do we have to say content creator?
I always, you'll note, and you'll probably, we should play a drinking game, how many times I interchange them throughout the next half an hour. But influencer, creator, talent, again, going back to value proposition, I talk to all different types of levels of creator. I talk to nano creators. So when I get on a call, I may call them a creator, an influencer, but then I'm talking to celebrities who, if I called them a content creator, they'd be like, I'm not a creator. I'm an actress on television right now. Why are you calling me a creator? Or if I get on the phone with a chef, someone that you represent, and I start calling them a content creator, they're not going to connect with me. So I have to figure out who it is that I'm talking to and what is the term that's going to best land with them, so that they see themselves in what I'm essentially trying to sell.
Yeah. So let's go back to that for a second. I want to go back to kind of the value proposition of like understanding who you're talking to and being able to create value for them, right? If anybody's listened to these other podcasts, I think over the years, right, I used to be a, hey, I got something, you want to buy it guy. And I've evolved into understanding that not everything I have is right for everybody, and really trying to your point, understand what the brand's trying to accomplish. And sometimes that's like, well, I don't have anything for you to help you do that. And other times it's like, all right, let's get creative to figure out how we can help you achieve your goals. I'm curious on the influencer and content creator side, back when you started, like it was about volume and reach, right? Obviously the content creators and their story and being able to connect kind of this mom blogger with this brand that wants to talk to moms, right? As we've evolved and the world of content creators and influencers has grown, right? And those numbers and volumes have grown. There used to be, I remember it was Oprah and what's his name was the first person to get to 1 million Twitter followers. Well, now there's like fucking 100,000 of them that have 1 million followers, right? How are you now combating against that? It's not just an eyeball thing now, right? Because you can get eyeballs anywhere. You can buy eyeballs, you can find different content creators. At some point, a content creator that's worth 20 grand, right? And there's 5 of them worth 20 grand. Somebody just say, you know what? I'll do it for 15 because I want the deal. And you start driving yourself down. How are you combating that? Or how are agents and managers kind of fighting and selling against that right now?
I think it's really important to lean into who is the audience of this creator. And, it's not all about that reach and that number on paper. I remember, and I don't rep talent anymore, thank goodness. I did that for a number of years. That was amazing. And then I played matchmaker between brand and talent. I'm happy to be on the other side of the world, but I remember having conversations with brands and, putting talent in front of them. And maybe there's this one, there was this creator, Ariel Charnas or something maybe, and she blew up. And she had 1 million followers, and in a proposal next to maybe another talent who had 5 million, followers, her rates were higher, and brands couldn't understand why they had to pay her more. But it was because the intimate relationship that she had with her audience, where they were going to click, they were going to buy, they were going to like, they were going to subscribe to anything that she was putting out. And there was also just like this mass appeal for brands wanting to work with her. So it's like a barrier to entry. So I think it's not only about the reach. It has to go back to really, again, like what's the value proposition of the talent for the brand. And I think it's interesting right now to see the different types of creators on the rise. So we've
Yeah.
seen the birth of TikTok and this Gen Z audience. You see the Charlie D'Amelios, who literally was founded 3 towns over from me by this incredible woman, Barbara, who launched Outshine Management. You see this, and I remember being at a panel, and Barbara raised her hand and said, "Hey, Reesa, what do you think about TikTok?" And I said, I don't really know what's going to happen with this TikTok thing. And boy, was I wrong. And she was right. But the TikTok talent now who has a smaller following, like there's a huge need for a brand to want to work with them. So I don't think it's I don't think it's a fair comparison for brands to just look at a whole bunch of creators and what their reach is and say, okay, I'm going to take this person for the reach, this person for the reach.
Gotcha. So when you were at DBA, and I want to get to LTK in a minute, but when you were at DBA and you were growing and you were the first talent manager and people were coming up underneath you, what were some of the things that you were doing to kind of grow personally and to help other people grow? Like as a small agency, I think the thing I haven't done great over the years has been able to actually do that, right? And I think the challenge, and I think what I always see a DBA doing so well at is like bringing people in, teaching them kind of a certain model and a certain method and allowing them to go do their thing. Like, what were some of the things that you found really successful over the years when you were DBA, when you were growing the business?
I mean, I think really setting processes and procedures into place. And as a startup, when you're super scrappy, and, even the team I'm building now at LTK, we have over 650 employees, but I'm essentially a startup within the company, and I'm super scrappy. And it's like that startup phase where you were just trying to be in as like, I wanted to be in as many meetings that I could possibly be in. I said yes to everything. I went to every single event. I did everything that I possibly do to not only build my clients, not to build DBA, but also build my own personal profile.
Right.
And I'm also a huge
Proponent.
I can't even think about the word. Like, I love connecting people, and whether it benefits me or it does not benefit me, it's rare that I'll get off a phone and not have to connect people. And again, like that connection has nothing to do with benefiting me, my job, my role. I'm not making money on it, but I know that maybe these 2 people can bet. I mean, right before this, I was like, oh, I should connect you to these 3 people. So I think from the beginning days of DBA, I wanted to connect people. And then that often, that helped also our team too, because our team was able to grow. And setting the kind of going back to the original question, setting up those processes and procedures to streamline work for all parties. And no one likes change. I remember one time we went from Dropbox to Box, and I went kicking and screaming as if you were, I don't know, like taking away my iPhone. 30 days later, I'm like, oh my gosh, this system is so much better. We tried to systemize and roll out like tools like Asana and Trello to streamline the workflow. Again, everybody goes kicking and screaming. And then as soon as it's implemented, I was like, oh my gosh, why was I doing everything in email? I also think as agents and managers, we are so reliant on email, and we think that everything needs to happen in email. And there are some benefits to doing things through platforms. And then one other thing that I just found coming, I had an assistant for, I don't know, probably almost 2 decades now. I've had an assistant. Coming into LTK, we are not an assistant culture, so I don't have an assistant, which has challenged me, but it's also made me really love this calendar link. And I know I've sent it to you before, this calendar link that you can send out through HubSpot, and it automatically somebody can go in, see your calendar, and book it. There's no more of the looping in my assistant to book the calendar. They go back and forth for a week. I send the link. I have a meeting booked in 30 minutes. Like, I don't know. So I'd say process, procedures, like figure out ways to streamline workflow for you and for your team.
You think this next generation is willing to do all that work? Because listen, I'm with you, right? First off, you're an amazing connector, right? It's one of the things I think that I do pretty well as well. When I was young, I was doing the same thing. I was going to everything. I was asking to be in every meeting. I was going to every network thing. I was digging in. You think this generation that's coming out of college now, whatever, call it 22 to 30, you think they're willing to put that work in?
Unfortunately, no. But not everybody. I think that I think that there are some, but I also think that, coming out of COVID and burnout and the quiet quitting, I have to check myself and pull back and say, do I need to send this Slack right now? Do I need to send this email? It'd be easier for me to get it off my plate, but what precedent am I setting for my team that I'm sending Slacks that don't need to be sent at 7:30 or 8:30 at night? And my husband has to check me quite often, like, Reesa, why? I don't know. Last night it was like midnight, and I was sending an email. He's like, "Why are you sending that right now?" I'm like, "Well, I'm just trying to get it off of my plate, off of my to-do list for tomorrow." But you have to think about who's on the receiving end of you trying to check that thing off on your to-do list.
I almost find it as when I do it, I almost find it as like not getting it off my checklist, but not forgetting.
Totally.
I guess I could write it down somewhere and then do it the next morning, but then I'm already writing it down. I'm already doing it, right? So you're almost doing double work. But it's a very good point. It's funny, Forgione.
But I do think, and I see now a lot of agencies now, talent management companies, at the footer of their email, it will have their working hours. And it will have some sort of disclosure that's like, my working hours may not be your working hours. Like, there needs to be some type of respect. And, in an industry where we're working with content creators, that their busiest times a year are often the times that we would like to be spending with our families, not on our phones. But that's actually maybe Black Friday, right after Thanksgiving, when everybody's shopping and they have to get content up, and maybe they're having to get content approved for a brand deal. So there is this also kind of like overwhelming sense of having to always be on times when maybe we'd like to actually protect our own time to be with our families. And there's never an off time.
I have such a hard time with this. I have such a hard time with this, right? And I know it's an old school mentality, and I know it's probably not the right way of thinking, and I understand that we have to think about mental health and we have to give break. I still have a really fucking hard time with it, right? And I don't know if it's because I'm a small business owner and every minute counts, and every dollar that comes in is a dollar that has to go out, and it's my ass or somebody else's, but I have such a hard time with it. I know it's right. You're right, right? And I was just about to say that Forgione, who obviously really well, sent down an email to his managers and said, I don't want you emailing after work hours. I don't want you emailing before 9:30. I don't want you emailing after 11 when the restaurant closes. I don't want you doing it. This is for you. It's not for me, which I thought was really, for him, I thought it was kind of really amazing. I still have such a hard time with it. Like, for me, and I don't think you have to get back to people right away, but for me, it's like, I'm still on a sales
I get it.
It's
I get it. But how many times, and I think about early days of DBA, and one of the partners, whenever she'd get on a plane, we dreaded it because we knew that we were going to get 5 billion emails. She was going to follow up on 5 million things that she had sent us 3 months ago, and we dreaded it. You don't want your team to dread it, but you made a good point that you are the small business owner. You own the business. You are the one that, when you scale and you grow and you make a shit ton of money, and, you have your name on your shirt, you are the one at the end of the day who will be benefiting the most from those opportunities of putting in the extra time and the energy and the hours. Your team isn't. And I think about it the same way.
You're right.
My team is not going to back in the day, think about assistants and coordinators. They're not making commission, or even junior managers, junior talent managers. They're not making the same level of commission as their manager is, as their VP is. So there's extra value attached to our time. But they don't have the skin in the game. So why would they work as hard?
Yeah, they should. Well, they work that hard to get to the point where they do have the skin in the game. They're still,
one would hope, but yeah. I mean, they're not sitting on the Sell Ice to an Eskimo podcast yet.
That's true. That's true. Tell me about LTK. Tell me about what's going on over there and what you're doing. I mean, I know a little bit, but tell everybody a little bit about LTK.
I mean, it's kind of like, what aren't we doing right now?
Yeah.
You know, I think the as we really look at who we are in the marketplace, we are the largest influencer marketing platform. And everything that we do is fueling creator commerce and providing a shoppable experience powered by creators for consumers. So when you think about our business, we have three sides to our business. One side being that we are developing products for influencers to build out shops on LTK. So when they are building out their shop, they're able to curate posts, content, all different types of mixed media, and it's their one-stop shop for all types of products. Because there's this fatigue on social media where it's like click to buy, click to buy, click to buy. Or you even think about maybe even some of your clients, and we talked about this, you know, a few months ago. They're culinary talent, but their audience is still asking about, you know, what's maybe in the background of their kitchen. What are the knives? I'm sure that some of the chefs are getting questions like, "Oh, your skin's glowing. Like, what's your skincare routine? I love your hair. Your wife is so cute." Like the audience is invested in that creator, and it can be really it can be overwhelming for the creator, the talent, to have to continue to answer those questions. So as we build out the shop for LTK for creators, it's the ability for them to actually talk and post about content they may not want to post on social media. So it kind of gives them that opportunity to build a digital storefront with anything and everything that they would want to promote to their audience. And then on the flip side, we're building on a consumer product. So when you go into LTK as a consumer, you're going to see, you know, maybe creators and talent who you resonate with their style or their messaging, and you're going to be guided to make purchases based on creators' recommendations. So the same way you go to Amazon and you look at reviews, like you go to LTK because somebody has tried out the skincare product, somebody has tested out all of those knives, somebody has ordered every single Amazon dupe and has tried them for you. And as a consumer, you're being surfaced with those amazing suggestions from creators that you trust.
I love it. I think it's really smart. And I know we talked about it when you first got over there. I think we need to re-talk about it for some of my clients as well. Tell me what it's like. So you're now selling to agencies primarily, right? So you're talking to the me's of the world that have a lot of bigger content creators, and you're talking about how to build platform for them. What is that like in terms of their mentality of, hey, my creator's doing this on their own? Like, what is your sales prop for them, and how's that going? What are you seeing as kind of challenges, and how are you getting over it?
Yeah, I think the biggest challenge, the biggest challenge is that, you know, again, going to the burnout and the time, there's only so much time that managers and agents have in their day to bring opportunities to their clients. And they want those opportunities to be usually ones that have guaranteed paychecks. They want to know that the opportunity they bring to talent is going to put money in their talent's bank. And at the end of the day, they're going to make commission on that deal. But sometimes it's harder for them to see the forest from the trees. It's harder for them to see that if they bring an opportunity for a talent to build out a storefront, talent's going to make money on everything that they're selling. They're going to get possible brand deals from our brand partnerships team, and they're going to get data and analytics to really see what their audience wants. So all of those things that I mentioned are huge value props, but you have to kind of get the manager or the agent has to be willing and be invested in growing their talent outside of just the guaranteed brand deal.
How's that going? I don't mean how are you doing. I'm
a firm believer in relationships, and once somebody trusts you, and they also they know me coming in, I know what managers want, I know what talent want, and I know what brands want. And I've had to push back multiple times with our internal teams at LTK and say, like, this is not going to hit with a talent. This is not going to hit with a manager. So really leaning into the trust and the relationship with the managers and agents, and then making it as easy as possible for them to see what the value is. So how are we giving them resources to also be better managers? How are we giving them information, tools, analytics, data on their their talent's audience, that then they get to go back during their planning strategy sessions with their talent and say, hey, did you know X, Y, and Z? Here are some other ideas for content. All of the information that we do in terms of, you know, sourcing trends and sales, we do a lot of that heavy lifting that takes it off of the manager when it comes to those larger strategy calls. And then also just really knowing who's going to make the most sense for LTK. And not every talent today makes the most sense,
Right.
and can see themselves in the platform and is going to make $1 million off the bat. But, you know, we are expanding the type of talent on the platform. We have expanded significantly into kind of the Gen Z market. What does that look like for TikTok next year? We're moving into sports and athletes. So again, going back to, I think it is really rooted in building that trust and that relationship, finding what the value proposition is. And for me, it was even for the managers and the agents to know that they had someone they could call at LTK if there was a problem, if there was an issue, there was somebody who's going to pick up the phone and have their back.
Right, which is critical. You know, we had just talked about, again, before we got on, said that a bunch of times, we were talking about burnout, right? And I don't want to get too far down this hole, but I do think what you guys are doing, you know, starts to protect around that, right? Like,
Yeah.
I really do think that these content creators, they're going to get tired. And when they're 22, their life and their feelings and the way they look at things, and maybe they've got a little money at 27, they're going to want to probably do something different, right? Like the constant content creation is exhausting and there is burnout, right? I'm just so curious about how agents and managers, and it's one of the reasons why I want to get into this, you know, influencer content creator space on the culinary side, because we have a different value prop of being able to bring opportunities offline, create new restaurant concepts, be able to deliver food to people, figure out how to take their audience and put it, you know, in a real life setting so they can extend their career. You think a lot of these guys care about that? Like big agencies, I know individuals are there, but like, are content creators and the people that you're dealing with, are they thinking about this, or they're just caught in the moment right now? Because what you guys are doing helps them, right?
Yeah.
Not have to worry so much about at least scrapping for every penny from a brand deal perspective, but it allows them to leverage what they're doing on a daily basis.
Yeah. I think if you sit in the room with any creator, talent, influencer, from nano to celebrity, and you say, what is your dream? They're going to say probably one of three things. I want to have, most of them, I'd say 90% would say, I want to have my own product. I want to have my own line.
Right.
I want to write a book. I'd love to host a show. I want to go on tour. You know, they have all of these things that they want to do, but they want them to happen now, today, without
right.
any of the experience to actually, you know, launch a product line. They don't know how to design. They don't know what's going to sell. They want to write a book. They have no idea what even goes into writing a book proposal. So I think that they all have really, really lofty goals. However many of them
Right.
actually get to achieve those goals is the perfect mix of an amazing team, an amazing manager, agent, and then just like that hustle and that drive and the ability to stay focused and really committed to what you're doing. It's a lot of work, and I think that they all dream that they want to have some restaurant one day, but how many of them actually want to go and put on a hard hat and demo the restaurant, because they consider themselves talent. They think that they should be
Right.
paid to actually go and do that.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
they have to realize that it's time that they need to actually invest their own time and energy and money into their own businesses.
Yeah, it's hard. Talent are interesting, and I can tell you from working with coaches and broadcasters and athletes and now chefs, they're all different, and they all bring different value props, and their mindsets are all very different. It's not too different than this, you know, the generation that we were just talking about, right? Like at the end of the day, I don't care if you're the most talented person in the world. You still need to hustle and grind. You
Yeah.
still, you just said it. You still need to be committed to your craft. Whether your craft is sales, your craft is content creation, your craft is building a business. It's that commitment and that desire to be the best at what you possibly can be. And, you know, not all of us are going to be Reesa or Elon Musk or, you know, X, Y, but just being the best version of yourself, right, typically brings some type of success for sure.
And I think being okay to leaning into what's your gift and who that person is. I remember at DBA, I started off managing talent, built talent, rep talent, did some of the first, again, first product launches, first television, a lot of firsts for our industry. And I got to the point where I didn't want to just work with the talent that I manage. I wanted to work with the entire portfolio of talent at DBA. I wanted to bring deals to everybody. So I remember sitting down with one of the founders, and I had a conversation, and I felt like if I did that, if I pivoted away, it meant that I was less of a manager. I was not as good as my other partner, who was really going to focus on talent management. She goes, well, think about what you want to do. Like, do you want to be the person who is, managing talent? Do you want to be the top talent agent? Or would you rather be known for leading an industry and change and building programs and driving a larger business that's not necessarily attached to a talent as an individual? And I'm like, oh, I want to do the business. I want to build the business. I want to do all the things. I want a bag of tricks where I walk into a meeting and I'm like, oh, you want a food? You want a beauty? You want a mom? Oh, you want to host an event? Like, I want a bag of tricks that I can walk out of a meeting and know that something out of my bag of tricks landed. And simultaneously, I had the same conversation with my husband, and it was really hard because I built these talent. They were my babies. Like I built them, and to essentially give them away to somebody else was really hard. And my husband says, Reesa, would you rather it was like a Saturday, we were at lunch at Molto having wine at the bar. And he goes, would you rather get a call from a talent saying that she missed her flight, that she doesn't like her hair color, that she doesn't want to post because she doesn't like the sweater? Or would you rather get a call from Diet Coke saying that they have $100,000 and they want you to help them spend it? He said, I will pick up the phone for Diet Coke all day long.
It's pretty easy. Yeah, Reesa, though, that takes a certain level of confidence and recognition. To your point, you're dead on. Like, trying to figure out what your superpower is and what makes you happy, right? It's not you spend more time working than you do with your family and with your friends and doing other things outside of work. It's just the reality of it, right? And so trying to figure out what you do that makes you happy, it's critical. And listen, I figured that out when I was repping athletes. I loved it. Absolutely loved it, but it was singular in focus. And at some point, I remember just realizing that I got ADD and I like 50 things going on at once. And the thing I love about my job is I can do talent deals, and I can go look for restaurants, and I can try to think cockamamie things like a, NFT bar in New Orleans, and just go do it. Or, build a company called We Feast and put it, food in boxes and ship it all around the country and just go do it. And I figured that out. That made me happy. I think, to your point, it's really good insight. All right. Rapid fire questions. These are going to be painless, but rapid fire. All right. You ready?
Yeah.
Books or podcasts?
Books, but unfortunately, I don't spend much time doing either right now.
Either. Okay. You don't do much either. Reels or TikTok?
Reels.
Really? Interesting.
Yeah, I don't spend a ton of time on TikTok. I should, but I realize that it's not my superpower. It's not necessarily where I want to spend time. So I hired a TikTok specialist on my team, and she is focused on building on our TikTok strategy, and I leave it in her hands.
But you don't find I find TikTok to be more entertaining than Reels for me. Just like pure entertainment.
For me, I'm not a sound on. I don't consume content with sound on. So it's otherwise my husband would be like, turn it off. What are you listening to? And I have no time to do it during the day. So for me, I can easily scroll and watch and not have to have sound on. Gotcha. Same thing with podcasts. I feel like I'm constantly stimulated 24/7. And even when I was commuting home, people are like, oh, do you listen to podcasts? I'm like, no, I want to put on either like some gangster rap or take a nap or just get through a contract. I don't need additional, I don't know, audio.
Managing your time. I got you. Cold call or cold email?
DM.
DM?
DM.
Cold DM?
DM.
Wow. That's the first I've ever. It's funny. I don't even look at my DMs.
Oh, I live in my DMs.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh. Well, maybe that's my problem. Huh. Interesting. Yeah. Biggest sales pet peeve?
The sequenced emails. I can't.
They drive me wild too. Yeah. On LinkedIn, I have the name of my company is a culinary marketing company, and the emails I get are, Dear Lonnie at culinary marketing company. It's like, you fucking idiots. Come on,
Yeah,
you're giving everybody that name.
the sequenced emails.
Yeah, they drive me crazy too. What do you got going for the holidays?
My dad and his girlfriend are coming to visit. Hopefully my sister and her littles will come. She broke her foot, so she hasn't left a couch in almost a month. And we'll have a house full of people. I didn't do any entertaining for Thanksgiving, so I will make it up over Christmas. I last year we were a little bah humbug and we went on vacation the day after Christmas. This year my husband said let's embrace this. There's planters outside. I hung up garland yesterday. I'm all about the Christmas spirit, and we will be lots of drinking and eating and hosting a poker game for my college age son and his buddies. So it'll be blessed.
I was gonna ask you another rapid fire question, but I was going to ask you turkey dinner or leftover turkey sandwich, but then you were a vegetarian, you're no longer a vegetarian. So I'm going to ask you, right? Turkey dinner, or do you like the leftover turkey sandwich better?
Probably leftover turkey sandwich, although I didn't get any leftovers this year. But I was fine. Again, my bah humbug for Christmas last year was kind of my Thanksgiving bah hum this year, but it was perfect in every way. Leftovers are nice. And I don't know if you follow Brunch with Babs. She had this hack of you put all of the leftovers in a muffin tin and stick it in the oven and heat it up all together. And then you have the perfect little leftover Thanksgiving Christmas dinner.
I love that. That's the other thing I love about content. There are a lot of really good life hacks.
Oh my God, so many.
Yeah. You want to hear one that's really kind of crazy? And this has nothing to do with anything that we're talking about. I used to, when I got out of the shower, I used to like wrap my towel the wrong way. And so it would always I'd always have to reconfigure it. And I was watching TikTok. So the guy's like, yeah, you just roll it over. I was like, that's the most brilliant thing. Either I'm an idiot, right? Clearly I'm an idiot. But it was like that super life hack that kind of changed my life a little bit.
The TikTok, the hacks on TikTok are pretty solid.
Same thing on Reels.
You should for sure follow Brunch with Babs.
I'm gonna right now. You're awesome, and I appreciate you very much. And you're a star, and I'm sorry for not believing in you 20 years ago when you said influencers and content creators were something. You should have just slapped me a little bit and said, "What the hell are you thinking?" So I hope you have an awesome holiday season, and I really appreciate you coming on.
Awesome. Good to see you. We'll catch up. We have to figure out how we get your clients their shop set up and making money while they sleep.
Let's do it now. And more importantly, I got to get you to 1/5. You haven't been yet, have you?
No. I still have a gift card to Forge I haven't used.
You better use it in the next couple. Well, Forge is moving, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it'll probably stay good, but we need to get to you to 1/5. It's in restaurant.
Oh my gosh, let's go.
Have you been to Peasant yet?
I went pre-mark to Peasant.
You got
on a really bad date.
You got to go to Peasant now. It's absolutely amazing.
Okay.
So we have some work to do. We need to go get some food together.
Yes. Awesome. Good to see you.
All right. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye.